Hello and welcome to another episode of the Afterburners podcast. I am your host, Sam Niedermeyer. With me, as always, co-host Mr. Bobby Koch. And Bobby, our listeners are listening to this on at least June 21st, which means the first day of summer. You got any shorts that you're going to be prepared to wear this weekend?
So this might end up being a whole thing on Twitter, but I'm not much of a shorts guy. I'll wear them if it's really, really hot out. But honestly, I prefer wearing pants. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen you wear shorts. Yeah, I'm not much of a shorts guy. And I know people are going to be like, wow, Bobby doesn't like shorts. He doesn't like soup in the summer. The TLDR here is I just don't like hot weather. Yeah, you're definitely more of a fall guy. Spring. Nothing about you says spring. I'm sorry. There's no spring in your step, dude. Like you're all about the fall, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Interesting. I'll have to give it some more thought. If listeners want to tweet at us and tell us what they think, what season they think I am. Hey, it's great to be back, man. I'm really excited. Obviously, I was out last week. By the way, you guys did a phenomenal job last week. That was all the guests. I did a terrible job hosting. Tim, who's the final one was? Ryan Hart. Ryan Hart. They're just a really great job in my absence. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, and it was interesting to have Pete back on. I know that he's been angling to take over for you. He's trying to take my spot, but we all know that I'm irreplaceable, I guess. Not really after the job you guys did last week, but do you want to know where I was? Where were you? So everyone, big Capitals fan, I was excited to see my team at the hoisting the Stanley Cup at the parade last week on Tuesday. So I went down to the parade, and I felt great. And then I had a little minor medical emergency spring up on Wednesday. Should I just tell everyone? I covered for you, dude. This is up to you. I covered for you. If you want to tell everybody, go ahead. First, let's bring on our guest. How about that? Yeah. All right, everyone, we're excited to bring on Derek Brown for the first time in the Afterburn podcast. He is the host of Fantasy Football 24/7, also a writer at Roto Underworld, Gridiron Experts, and NumberFire. NumberFire, excuse me. Derek, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. Are you a shorts guy in the summer?
What's going on, guys? So I'm located down in Texas. I will wear shorts if I absolutely have to. I don't understand this entire chubbies thing. Like, you might as well just be wearing a man thong.
Chubby? But what is this chubbies?
It's a brand of shorts.
It's a brand of shorts, and it might as well just be like a longer version of a male Speedo, and it's khaki colored.
Yeah.
And people wear this in public.
Yeah, people do. They walk around, and I guess this goes with the whole no tan line thing. I have no clue, but personally, I'm going to side with Bobby on this one. I hate hot weather. I'm not a big fan of shorts, partially because I hate hot weather, and two, I don't actually know, because it defies all laws of physics, how my stick legs hold up the rest of my body. It's like a house of cards. If a strong wind were to blow me in a certain direction, the whole thing's just going to come down. So I don't really want to show them off.
I have the complete opposite problem. I'm got the stick arms and pretty much the stick pecs, but my legs are pretty strong, so I like to show them off with shorts. I got shorts on right now.
He does. His legs look pretty strong, guys. You can't see them on camera, but I'll give him that.
Bobby is checking out my legs if you aren't looking right now. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We're excited to have Derek Brown on. We got a great show ahead of you as you listen to this on the first day of summer, wherever you are. Pants, shorts, wear it all, enjoy it. We're just happy that winter is done. We had a really, really brutal spring, too, with cold weather. We're excited to have some 75, 80-degree weather. Guys, you ready to talk some football?
Yeah, absolutely. Always ready.
Yeah.
Excellent. Outstanding. We're going to go over Nathan Peterman, some news out of him and the Buffalo coming up there. We're also going to talk Kirk Cousins because our man Derek Brown is high on the Cuz train over in Minnesota. We'll talk Ryan McDowell's quarterback rankings that he released earlier today.
And Russell Wilson.
Hey, we got some Russell Wilson.
The late edition.
Talk to go to. Before we get started, Derek, share where the people can find you on Twitter or anywhere else that they can follow your work.
So you can find me on Twitter at Debro_FFB. I am probably the catchphrase I always go with is I'm probably on Twitter more than any human should ever be in the existence of mankind. But Bobby is if I'm 1A, he's 1B, man. So I can't really go too much with that. But yeah, I'm on Twitter constantly. Hit me up with questions. Sam kind of went through every place that I write for. Should have another article dropping in the next week or so for Gridiron Experts. And I'm working on my people can't see the air quotes here, but my debut piece with NumberFire. Very happy to be over there. Very talented group of writers there. So, yeah, that's about all I got.
Make sure you got your numbers down correctly before you pump out any content over there. Bobby, you're up next.
Yeah, you can find me at Wrecked Fantasy. That's REKED Fantasy. I haven't said it in a while, so I'm not trying to be a Twitter tough guy like John Bosch always accuses me of. Like Derek said, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm waiting for grad school to start, so I'm literally just on Twitter all the time talking fantasy football. And you can find my work at DLF Football as well as 2QBs. I should have 2 articles dropping soon, one on Joe Mixon being overvalued at his ADP, and the other one that's sure to get Twitter torch mobbed against me of Sammy Truthers is one of Sammy being overvalued at his ADP. So if you like,
I'm carrying the lighter for that and the fuel, so we're coming for the
Yeah, I hear you there, and yeah, that's it.
And guys, Sam. I am at the needy one, TheNeedione. You can find us at Afterburners Pod. Don't forget to follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podbean at Afterburners Pod. All right, guys. So I just heard both of you say you're on Twitter an extremely a lot of times. You're on Twitter all the time, basically. So I pulled up some stats as you were talking. Who do you think has more tweets between the two of you?
I'm gonna. You know what? I'm going to take the contrarian pick. I'm going to go with Bobby.
Bobby's correct. So, Ryan, here's your numbers. 29.3 thousand tweets, 40.1 thousand likes. Bobby coming in with a staggering 36,000 tweets, but half the likes, 19.7 thousand. So that was pretty fun to do.
I'm just more of a jerk. I don't like things as much. I just want to get my thoughts out there.
The Twitter tough guy, right?
Yep, exactly.
So one thing I forgot to mention, and actually I had to kind of pinch myself the other day. I got an email and found out that my rankings are actually going to be part of – so I just got an email the other day saying that I was accepted to be part of the ECR for rankings for Fantasy Pros. So super pumped to be able to do that, to have a spot, to have rankings. And was that a slow clap, Sam?
I'm trying to clap it for you, man.
I mean, I liked it. It sounded like with the Capitals parade, you had some practice, man.
I've been doing a lot of clapping the last 3 weeks. That's awesome, though.
I don't even want to know what it's a reference to. Oh, no. I feel like this is going to go off the rails.
You know that it also means that people are going to call you out, though, right?
And there, Sam just got where I was going with it.
Oh, I got where you were going with it. I just chose to ignore it.
Oh, and see, and look, the Twitter tough guy steps out into podcast world. There we go.
All right, now since you brought up that joke, everyone wait until the end, and I'll tell you what the medical emergency is. Hint, I didn't have the clap because that's apparently what Derek was implying, but it's rather funny. So tune in till the very end, and I'll let you know what my medical emergency was.
I can't even believe he brought it up. Oh my gosh!
With butts, we'll leave it at that.
Jesus Christ! All right, guys, congratulations, Derek. That's awesome that you got into that. Congratulations, really happy for you. Let's get into some football talk. So we had earlier today, I believe it was Mike Rodak from ESPN, put some reports out there. Actually, it might have been yesterday. Was saying that Nathan Peterman is actually a serious contender for the Bills' starting quarterback job. Now, if that name rings a bell to you, it should. It's the guy that came in for a half, right in the middle of a Buffalo Bills playoff run, threw 5 interceptions and had arguably one of the worst starts ever in fantasy. Actually, like just in player career,
football
history. Yeah. So they basically they're going to start him over AJ McCarron. They drafted Josh Allen at number 7. Let's start with Derek. Is this intriguing enough for you to do something with Nathan Peterman in 2 quarterback or super flex leagues?
Nathan Peterman, I look. I pity the fool. I'll go with the Mr. T. I'll pity the fool that even has him on the roster because you've got to be in some sad sorts. There's no way in hell that I'm even touching Peterman. I barely even care about McCarron. even in Superflex, and Bobby could weigh in on this, but even in Superflex, man, I'm no Josh Allen all day. I can't. Now, I'm staying away from that entire position for the Bills unless they bring Tyrod back. Besides that, it's nasty. It's absolutely nasty.
So what would you do with him in a Superflex league, Bobby? What do you think? If you, let's say you're an owner, or maybe you're aspiring to get him, like what do you do?
So I think Nathan Peterman is worth a speculative add if you have like 26-man roster, 2 taxi spots. And the reason I say that is, and this is the reason that some people like Kyle Lebrec, I believe his Twitter handle is just K Lebrec, Labreck, but he hates Superflex, and this may be one of the reasons why.
Twitter handle is correct.
The starters that get any kind of starts in Superflex, you can flip them to another owner often, even if it's just like for a 3rd-round rookie pick. And so if Nathan Peterman starts any kind of games, you might be able to flip him. And if it's the end of your roster and you're taking him over guys like, let's say, like the Leonte Carrus of the world who may never see the field anyway, it's not the worst bet. I'm not saying I personally would do it in most leagues. The one thing that Derek said that I disagree with is that as much as I hate Josh Allen and think that he is a disgusting quarterback option, he's going to start because they spent a top 10 pick on him. And because of that, and because everyone feels the way that we do about him, he's become a huge value in Superflex rookie drafts because he's going to get points. He's going to be kind of like, and I hate to make this comparison because I love this player, but he's going to be like Blake Bortles, where you just like hold your nose and hope that he gets you fantasy points because garbage time points still matter.
We couldn't even make it 10 minutes and you're already bringing in Blake Bortles.
Yeah, but I insulted.
You just compare Josh Allen to one of your favorite quarterbacks?
Bro.
I feel like you're a masochist. Like, what? Why would you inflict that type of pain upon yourself, Bobby?
Listen,
it's just mean. That's like something I should say to you, okay?
I understand why people do not like Blake Bortles, but that said, last season I've said this many times before. He showed a lot of improvements of being an actual good quarterback. For fantasy purposes, though, he's put up garbage time points, and everyone seems to think that like you get -5 points for using someone who gets garbage time points. You don't. So Josh Allen could do that same thing. He might suck, but he'll at least get some fantasy points, and it's better than taking a 0 at the position.
I'm going to go, like, if I own Josh Allen, right, like, I actually want Nathan Peterman to start. I actually think if Josh Allen were to not start, his career is going to last longer. Because you throw him in there immediately, and he's just fucked. Like, either way, he's going to be terrible. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to be like, he's not going to throw fantasy points or anything like that, because you're right, he's going to get garbage time points. It's going to be like, they're going to be down 40-0, and he'll throw a late touchdown. It's like, okay, great. There's whatever league you're in, 4 points there, 6 points there. But I just think he has a longer career if he doesn't start immediately, because he'll build his confidence. He'll learn behind the great A.J. McCarron or Nathan Peterman. Hopefully, he doesn't throw 5 picks in his first game ever. But
he could.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he could, especially with all the weapons they have in Buffalo.
It also gives them the option to get more weapons for him next year. So I agree with you. I actually kind of hope that for Josh Allen's sake, he doesn't start a game this year.
So I know I absolutely crapped all over the Bills quarterbacking situation.
So you're with rightful cause, like, you're not wrong.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. Even in Superflex, okay, so you have Peterman. I could also make the argument that I would rather stream another position over starting even a Nathan Peterman.
Fair.
I mean, I'll put it this way. You take Josh Allen and Nathan Peterman, even in Superflex, unless it's 6 points per passing touchdown, I would rather stream in a good matchup. I'll put Charles Clay in that spot over one of those two.
But what about, so the thing you're neglecting is the off chance, and I know it's unlikely, but the off chance that Peterman or Josh Allen throws 2 touchdowns, and that automatically almost outweighs any of the production you're going to get out of whatever other position you're streaming.
Well, it depends on what your format is. I mean, if it's 4 points per passing touchdown versus 6 for a tight end, and you're in PPR, Charles Clay rolls up. So what, they throw 2 touchdowns, you get your, 8 points right there?
Plus whatever yardage they got.
I mean, wait, yeah, but that's the only thing that I feel like in this whole entire argument was that, like, in the garbage time spot, I don't think that's given enough credence to the Bills' defense. The Bills' defense is part of the only reason they even had a chance at the playoffs last year, too. I mean, it sure as hell wasn't like Peterman and everything else. I mean, so I think the Bills' defense, as long as they're not hosed every single damn game with some kind of like Deshaun Kaiser-esque stuff, where you get into the red zone and there's a pick, and then there's a pick, and there's a pick, and there's a fumble, then they could keep them in closer games. It's hard to understand what they're really doing up in Buffalo, like with their entire draft. I mean, you take a quarterback, but then you don't give him any weapons and a questionable quarterback to begin with.
Well, this is the same organization that benched Tyrod Taylor in the middle of a playoff run, so we shouldn't be surprised.
Well, and the only reason they even played him after the fact was they were like, oh, shit, we kept winning. Crap. This was supposed to go, Tyrod sucks, we bench you, and that's from the coaches. I don't think Tyrod absolutely sucks. But the coach's perspective was, all right, Tyrod's the scapegoat, and then we lose, we tank, we get a higher pick, yada, 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 and then you just keep going down the rabbit hole. But then it's like the team kept winning, and it's like, well, shit, now we got to try to make it into the playoffs because the entire fan base, which I mean, if anybody's ever talked to a Bills fan, the Mafia, they're a passionate fan base.
Yeah.
They would have tarred and feathered that damn coach if they would have sat him kept him on the bench with Peterman in there throwing 5 picks in 3 minutes of a game or whatever he did, which was, I mean, that's got to be. I've never looked up the numbers because I've could never been able to stomach it without throwing up, but that's got to be one of the worst games in NFL history, like Bobby was talking about. There's just no question. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I like to look at historical stuff, so I'll look up at some point whether Nathan Peterman had one of the worst quarterback plays of all time.
The Bills last year in real life are like the movie version of, the fake version of the movie Major League, the Indians from Major League. They're just surrounded by ownership that wants them to fail. Maybe the Bills owner's trying to move them. I don't know. They did something last year, and then all of a sudden it just completely destroyed the chemistry.
There were rumors that the Pagulas, I have no idea how to pronounce it. I apologize to the Pagula family if that's incorrect. But there was rumors that they were trying to they're clearly listening to us. But there was rumors that they were trying to sell the Bills, so that's not totally out of the realm of possibility.
Last take with Nathan Peterman.
Oh man, I don't.
It doesn't even register for Derek. Derek's just
I felt like I just had a mini stroke whenever you brought that up. So
you're not even touching him with my dick. Got it, Bobby.
In most cases, I'm not taking a chance on Nathan Peterman. However, if I think that people in my league really value quarterbacks, and especially, let's say, if I'm a rebuilding team and the end of my roster really sucks and is never going to see the field anyway, I'll take the chance that he starts a few games, maybe plays well, and I can flip him for a pick.
If we're so late in the offseason, right? If you've already gone this long holding on to Nathan Peterman, this is nothing but great news. You might as well hold on to him now. I wouldn't even worry about trading him because I don't think you'll get anything back for him, especially if he has a couple good games. Real quick, I'm interested to learn, guys. Is there any other quarterback position around the league that you think possibly a backup or somebody we thought was going to be a backup could start next year?
Ooh, Rudolph.
That wasn't funny.
I wasn't kidding.
I got to hear this, Bobby. Go into this.
So, not because Ben's going to be bad, but
think he'll get in trouble?
Ben has either he has a history of getting injured.
That's true.
And he's on the older side and talking about retirement. I could see a situation where, and this is just my unexpected, I don't think he's actually going to retire, but I could see an unexpected situation where Ben gets hurt for 3 or 4 games and Rudolph is pressed into starting.
He's already said he's going to play for another 5 years. I don't think he will. I think he'll play 2 or 3 and then go.
Tom Brady also said that he's going to play till he's 45 and then went and interviewed and said that he's thinking about retirement more seriously. So who knows what these guys are thinking.
What about this guy? What about Mike White from on Dallas in place of Dak Prescott? Do you think maybe if Dallas is not retooling, they don't look good. If Dak Prescott has a couple bad games, what if Mike White shows up?
I'd like to point out that when you said that, both Derek and I made the not bad face where you're So it could be. I mean, I don't know I can't speak for Derek. I'm not the biggest Dak guy. I've said on multiple podcasts that I think his inefficiencies are covered up completely by Zeke's run game and that they limit his throwings and then he makes a few good throws and it looks like he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a good quarterback. And that could 100% be Giants bias, but I am also 100% willing to admit that Tony Romo was a better quarterback than Eli Manning.
Tony never got enough love. I love Tony Romo. He never got enough love. Since we're talking about this, so I like I was saying, I won't take the easy way out and tell you Lamar Jackson or a Baker because people have already talked about them starting. I'll go with this one. What if it's neither McCown or Darnold, but Teddy B gets it?
I hope so because I got him on my fantasy team.
And I mean, nobody's kind of pegging that. I know there was some BS rumors for a minute, and then it just kind of goes poof away. But if they really want Darnold to sit this year, McCown, we know he's not going to. I mean, unfortunately, as much as I love the guy, he's probably not going to play 16 games banged up. If they really want Darnold to sit this year, which looking at that roster, and as young as he is, I would want him to sit. Do you put Bridgewater in there over Darnold? So just saying, to sit him for the season.
No, I like that. Last year he completed 67% of his passes, which I believe was either first or second in the NFL, and that's about 7 points higher than his career average. There's no way he's going to throw 67% of his passes again. I like that, Derek. I think you're right. You're on something there. I like Teddy Bridgewater to play.
But Sam was just referring to Josh McCown stats, not Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Kind of unclear. But, yeah, I like Teddy B. And I was kind of hoping, actually, selfishly, that he gets cut by the Jets and then gets picked up by the Giants and becomes the Giants' future starter once Eli's done. Because I think that he could be a franchise quarterback, even if it's more of a game manager type. It all depends on the knees, obviously, because that was a very freak injury that he had. But yeah. I'm pulling for him just because it's always cool to see someone come back from an injury that serious and play well, or come back from some kind of recovery a la Josh Gordon. So I'm definitely pulling for Teddy B, and if he plays well this year, I'll be very happy.
Teddy Bridgewater, if you're listening, the Afterburners podcast wants you to come back strong next year for the New York Jets. I'm going to tell you guys right now, somebody that everyone thinks is going to start this year, especially one of us. I'm looking at you, Derek, to think he's going to be just very, very great. That's Derek Cousins.
Derek Cousins?
I'm sorry, Kirk Cousins.
His brother, Derek.
We keep it in the family.
Derek's other friend, Derek, Kirk Cousins, very high on him. Obviously, signed that big contract in Minnesota. Give us a breakdown, Derek. Give us your love for Kirk Cousins here.
There's a lot of different parts of it. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to step into – this is a tailor-made situation for somebody to just absolutely explode. And for everybody's – because the thing that I hear constantly is that the defense is going to limit it and that he's not going to have volume and blah, 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 blah. But the other part of that is that it's not factored in. And this is the most talent that I mean, theoretically, that Kirk Cousins has been surrounded by. You have Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, Rudolph, Thielen. You have a good defense behind him. Is the other side of that coin is that he's put into shorter fields, and everybody wants to talk about his red zone problems and inefficiency. And, okay, well, you give him better weapons. You get a defense to shorten the fields. He should be better in the red zone. He should have more touchdown chances, even if his volume does go down. So, I mean, currently, after my projections, which I don't think they're absolutely insane, he's my quarterback 3, and I'm sticking by that for right now. Unless there's injuries or anything else happens crazy in training camp, I'm sticking by it because the way that I have him projected right now, he's about 328 to 330 points is what it about comes out to. And the last 3 seasons, the quarterback 3 has scored 336, 332, and 295 points. So if he gets to that around that 330 mark, like I'm kind of guessing he's going to with what I'm putting out there, then he should be the quarterback 3, just based off the past 3 seasons.
QB3 this season seems a little high to me, but in general, I'm definitely on board with Kirk Cousins. And I say that Derek covered most of what I was going to say, which is he has better offensive pieces. People bring up the run game, but that can actually help him have a shorter field. The defense is better, so maybe they can make some picks. That leads to him being in the red zone too. And generally, I just really like what Cousins brings to the table and think he was underrated. And when he was with the Redskins, his best offensive piece was maybe Jordan Reed, who is always hurt, or Jamison Crowder, who I like, but is more of a slot guy. So I'm interested in it, especially because, and I pulled this from ffstatistics.com, Addison Hayes' website.
Oh, I'm on there too right now.
Yeah, so
it's a great website. I mean, he's a great job. I love it.
The past 3 seasons, Cousins has finished overall as the QB5, and QB9. So he is solidly in the mid to end tier of QB1s in Dynasty for me, and someone that I would love to pair with a younger quarterback maybe. And I think I mentioned this on Twitter not too long ago because, as we talked about earlier, I'm just on Twitter. I'm probably on Twitter now and I don't even realize it. But I'd love to pair Kirk Cousins with like a Jared Goff type, or maybe even Jimmy Garoppolo, to pair that upside with what I think is going to be stability in Cousins.
I get into fights on Twitter all the time with Redskins fans because I always defend Kirk Cousins. I always thought that he got a bad rap, and now all of a sudden Redskins fans hate Kirk Cousins. They love Alex Smith, and I get it, right? Like, you want to think that way as a fan. Kirk Cousins played behind, for all intents and purposes, a middle school line last year, offensive line. I mean, they were throwing guys out there that have probably just been like picking up trash the week before. He literally had no one last year, and he kind of got them somewhat respectable to a 500 level. The only downside, so Derek, I guess let me answer this. I kind of tend to agree with you. I'm very high on Kirk Cousins. The problem is I don't know if he's going to get the volume that he got over the last 2 to 3 years. Dalvin Cook's going to come back, presumably healthy. The defense is very good at Minnesota. It's a very volume-based position, especially at quarterback. Do you think he's going to have the attempts that he had in Washington?
So I'm actually writing an article that will probably be out this week or next week on Jamison Crowder. So looking this up last night while I was writing this, that whole entire volume thing is a myth in itself, because 2 out of the 3 seasons for the Redskins, they ranked 18th or lower in pass attempts. So all of that volume stuff is a bunch of crap. Like, everybody goes and says all the volume stuff. His ranks in pass attempts for the last 3 seasons was 20th, 7th, and 18th. So to say that he's not going to get the volume, the other side of that is, yes, the Vikings ran the second most run plays in the NFL last year. How much of that was because they didn't want to put too much on Keenum's plate? It's not because they had amazing yes, I like Jerick McKinnon, but are you really going to hand the ball to Latavius Murray 20-something times a game and be like, I feel good about it?
Derek, not to put you on the spot, but have you looked up what DeFilippo's coaching history is in terms of calling run plays versus pass plays? If not, that'd be something.
I have not. I was actually – you're in my brain, Bobby. I was actually looking at that right now, or was going to. So I do think that a lot of the volume stuff is a little bit overblown in the sense of, I mean, it's not like he was ranking, consistently in the top 5 for pass attempts. It's not like, somebody was saying, okay, we're taking Drew Brees and we're bringing him from this high number of passing attempts to, middle of the road.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not like you're taking Matthew Stafford, who, if I recall, throws like 70% of the time that he's in on plays, and putting him in a lower passing volume. Because don't get me wrong, I love Stafford, but almost all of his value comes from the fact that he just throws way more than anyone else does.
So the other part of that is that Kirk Cousins, would you say, Bobby, he finished 5th, and 9th? Correct?
Yeah.
It was
3rd, 5th, and 9th, I believe.
No, it was 5th 2 years in a row and 9th. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So he was the number 5 quarterback 2 years in a row, and this is for a quarterback that has never thrown 30 passing touchdowns ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's strong evidence right there.
So DeFilippo, man, I almost take this with a grain of salt. The 1 year that he was truly a coordinator was with Cleveland, and they ranked 11th. That was the year of, I want to say that was the year of Gary Barnidge was a thing.
Barnidge. I love to play him on DFS.
I think that they're going to throw the ball. I think they're going to be more balanced because they have, and yes, they have a better quarterback. Cousins is a better quarterback than Keenum. So.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I side note, I'm not as high on Jamison Crowder as you guys. I always thought Chris Thompson was his best weapon in DC.
That's fair. I'll accept that as a response. I like Crowder
I finally got you. Let the record show I finally know football one instance more than Bobby. So another question I had for you guys. Now that we've just completely changed this monumental shift in the power.
Sam's the expert now, and I'm the funny guy.
We've seen a power shift now in the football expertise on the Afterburners pod. So obviously, Derek, you love Kirk Cousins. I think more so than any other guest we've had. I'm high on Kirk Cousins too. Don't get me wrong. I think you're higher than most people we've had. Is there somebody that you think that is like you're pretty high on that other people might not be on?
Yeah, I know for a fact there's someone I'm high on that other people aren't high on, which is Jared Goff. And I like Jared Goff a lot more than other people. I understand, and don't get me wrong, I understand that there's probably going to be some regression this season just because he had a ridiculous season last year. And there might be some growing pains in terms of learning new offense. But the thing is that Jared Goff is a good young quarterback in a good situation with a lot of offensive pieces. And he's going to play well. And he's going to do that for a long time. And I wrote an article about it on DLF. And I have Jared Goff somewhere in my top 10 of dynasty quarterbacks. Yeah, so that's how I feel about Jared Goff. If you guys want to check that out, you can go to DLF Football, go to my page, or even just Google search Bobby Koch, Jared Goff, or Jared Goff, Roth IRA, Investing in Your Future, I think is what I titled it.
That's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, I like to be creative with my titles. You
do a good job with
I want to give people a little bit of entertainment. Like the one that's coming out about Sammy Watkins is called Turn Down What. Instead of Turn Down for What, it's Turn Down What.
Lil Jon.
Yeah, exactly. I actually listened to Lil Jon a bunch while I was writing that article to capture the true essence of the song. There's just...
So does it just say what? Is that like a one paragraph?
Literally, the article has no statistics whatsoever. It's just turn down what. Yeah. And then a bunch of like bass trebling.
You're right about that. I'm not as high on Goff as you are. I like to easy answer, easy cop out. I'd like to see it another year. They played against some of the poorer teams in the NFC, and I still like Goff. Don't get me wrong. I still think he's a QB1, but I know you got him relatively high. So what do you think, Derek? Goff, you okay? How do you feel about him?
I'm not quite as high as Bobby is. What I will say about Goff is that as long as McVay is there, that I think that he can stay around that area. I'm not as high. I want to say he's probably my number 12. He's in that 12 to 14 range, somewhere around there. I'm not looking at ranks, but as far as like dynasty quarterbacks go, but as long as you have McVay pushing the buttons there. And the other part of this, and partially why I like Cousins so much, is, oh my God, man, all of the weapons that they added to that defense this year for the Rams, whew, you talk about short fields and touchdowns. That's going to help Goff. So if you're high on Goff and you factor in the defense and the coaching, I can see it.
Yeah, that's a lot of it for me. So I mentioned the article a lot. It's kind of about the situation. I like Goff's talent, but the way I look at it is almost it's like if Bay stays there, it'd be like if you paired Matt Ryan with Kyle Shanahan for years, what could happen? And that's the what-if scenario I see playing it out in my head. Goff will be at his best as long as McVay is there calling plays for him. I agree. If McVay leaves, I'm a little more skeptical. But I think it's a match made. I don't like to say in heaven, so we'll just say a match made in. I have honestly no idea where I'm going with that. Sure, we'll go with that.
I wish Jeff Fisher was still the coach there. That way we can make more jokes about Jared Goff. So my guy, I think that I'm pretty high up on, but it's me. But I also think that
to clarify, the Afterburners position on Jeff Fisher is that we do not want him anywhere near any players because we absolutely hate him as a coach.
But I love making fun of him and burning him every week. It's the best part.
So Sam likes Jeff Fisher the way comedians like a bad politician, which is that gets them someone to make fun of, but he doesn't actually like him as a person.
It's nonstop content, baby. So a quarterback I'm high up on, a lot of people aren't. I actually get this a lot with at Lopsided Trade, Zach Wilkins, he's in our league. Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm very high up on him. Give him another year under oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. What's his name?
Kyle Shanahan, who we were literally just talking about.
God, well,
I was like, Bobby just said his name like 2 seconds ago.
Watermelon beers. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember.
He's going through withdrawal after the Capitals.
I'm still thinking about the Stanley Cup. All right,
he's still hungover from the Caps parade.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I pretty much I went like 5 days to celebrate. Of course I am. So I still like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's a top 5, top 4 actually QB. I think dynasty for me. Give him another year under Shanahan. Guy's just gonna be an absolute stud. I think so. I look to him to be another Matt Ryan from 2016. I really do. Derek, what do you think about Garoppolo?
He is in. So since we're talking about all this, he is my QB number 9 for dynasty right now. I'm not as high as you are, only because I just kind of work like Shanahan's offenses have always had that kind of like alpha target hog kind of guy. And I really expected them to kind of go out and add one of these like alpha receivers this year in free agency. And the fact that they didn't do it, I just kind of wonder where he's going to get the touchdowns from to be able to be in that upper tier. Which I say that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm so high on George Kittle, because I think they're going to use him in the red zone like crazy. But is that enough to like vault Jimmy into that 30-ish touchdown mark? I could see him, in the 20. Because what did he start, like 5 games? Right?
So to your credit, you're onto something, because he only threw 7 touchdowns last year in 6 games.
Yeah, it was a lot of yardage. It was a lot of yardage.
And I know this is the point that Zach at Lopsided Trades always makes. Who was he throwing to last year? Pierre Garçon was there. Marquise Goodwin was his, and don't get me wrong, I like Marquise Goodwin, but that was his best receiver. So the fact they only threw 7 touchdowns with terrible weapons isn't that surprising.
But how much has that changed this year? I mean, they brought in like Dante Pettis and Garçon's back there and running around with a bad neck. The weapons have not changed that much, so it's kind of actually making the case against Jimmy more.
There's a difference, though, between being brought in mid-season via trade start and having a whole offseason to practice in the offense.
Now, to Sam's love, that was impressive as hell, because as well as Jimmy played last year, I didn't think they were actually going to start him, and if they did start him, I was worried how fast he was going to. To that credit, how complicated does the Patriots offense have to be? If you walk into the 49ers and a Shanahan offense, which everybody, I mean, the myth and the rumor, well, not so much the myth, but the narrative that's always shot out there is wait till the second year. And this dude just like rolled up in there and was just like, I got that. Just put me under center. Boop, 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 boop. And he's just like operating the offense like it was nothing. So maybe I'm a little bit too low on him. I don't know.
I mean, he was basically, his time was spent between studying Shanahan's playbook and banging Instagram models.
I mean, when your name is Jimmy GQ, what else are you supposed to do with your time?
I'm kind of with you.
Good question.
Both, which is weird, where on the one hand, I understand why people are high on him. On the other hand, I understand why people are skeptical. And I'm almost never in a middle ground of players. I almost always go, no, I'm really high on this player, or I don't like this player. I'm very rarely in the middle. Jimmy is one of those guys that I'm in the middle of. And I think I tend towards more the people who are higher on him. And it's part of, 1, being part of that Kyle Shanahan offense. 2, he showed how quickly he could adapt. 3, I think their offensive weapons are a bit better than people are going to give them credit for, and they'll only continue to get better. And 4, this isn't my dynasty rankings, but as I've mentioned multiple times, in QB handsomeness rankings, Jimmy GQ is number 1. He did not show up to my wedding, and that was a good thing.
Cam Newton's number 1. So Ryan McDowell, who's the commissioner over at Dynasty Deal at Football, right? Dynasty Football.
Maybe you could call him commissioner. I'd just say like
he is in the league, and he's the commissioner of that league, right?
Not anymore, actually. So what Ryan is the head of the team. I don't even know if that's the correct term. Ryan is one of the main guys at DLF. That you can definitely say.
Let's just keep it right there.
He collects ADP for DLF, and what Sam's about to say is that he published or posted on Twitter a top 12 quarterback list from June DLF ADP.
Right, so he has Jimmy Garoppolo at 5. Well, sorry, he doesn't have it. That's what the ADP is. So here we go. It's Rodgers 1, Watson 2, Russ 3, Wentz 4, Jimmy GQ. I said it correctly there. He's number 5. My personal most attractive, Cam Newton at number 6. Derek's Kirk Cousins at number 7. Mahomes 8, Goff 9, Luck 10, Mariota 11, and Stafford, again, rounding out the top 12. The one thing that really jumps out to me is Mahomes at number 8. Is there anything, guys, that you want to discuss here in this top 12 here?
Well, 1 second, actually, because the way you said Derek's Cousins, it was immediately after you said that Cam.
I said Derek's Cousins.
But you said, first of all, shout out to Derek Cousins, who probably exists somewhere. But it was immediately after you said that Cam is your number 1 in QB handsomeness. So you made it sound like Kirk Cousins is Derek's. And Derek, how do you feel about Kirk Cousins' handsomeness? We haven't heard you.
Oh, man.
That's a question.
I don't think that Kirk is going to be in my he's not my – oh, gosh. Why do you put me in this situation?
You can say it. He's not attractive. You can say it.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but since we're going to talk about it, I mean, he's got some butterface tendencies. It's there, you know. He's not as bad as Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is – you got to bring the paper bag, I guess. But
oh man,
dude, Andrew Luck is just, it's hard to look. I mean, it's almost like what is that? Goonies? Like it's like Chunk back there just tossing the ball. But
number 1 then, is it Jimmy GQ or is it someone else?
It's probably, I don't know. It's going to be GQ and probably Rodgers duking it out, man. Fight to the death with
that's a good one.
Yeah, Rodgers is, I think, my wife's number 1. So
I mean, they can duke it out with a hairbrush and a bottle of hairspray and a lighter. I don't know what to say. Like, let them fight to the death, and whoever comes out of it is the winner.
You heard it here first. Cage match between Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy GQ. To see who's the
Cam Newton in there too.
Right, and Cam Newton. And what they have to do is like do modeling poses until someone dies from it.
Oh, so wait, I was thinking that you just went Zoolander with this. So now they're all gonna die because they're gonna get into a gasoline fight, and then somebody's gonna pull out the lighter.
They all have they have to do their best blue steel, and whoever does it best is the true.
Oh man!
Oh my God, Derek, you did it! You turned left. Oh wait, no, I think I screwed that up. Anyways, for me, guys, Mahomes number 8 in this ADP list was the one that immediately stood out to me. He has yet to really. I mean, granted, he had 1 start last year, played very well. Don't get me wrong, but it also was kind of, I don't want to say a garbage game, but it kind of had that feeling where it was a garbage game. Still counts for fantasy, don't get me wrong, but you get the feeling, I get the feeling for me at least, I'd like to see it consistent from Mahomes before I put him in a top 12 here. Is there anybody else standing out to you, Bobby? You want to lead off for us?
I was actually going to say Mahomes too, and part of that is in the history of the NFL, only 8 quarterbacks that have passed for 4,000 or more yards as a rookie, and that's significant because looking at the top 12 last year. And only 3 of the top 12 for fantasy purposes, only 3 of them, I believe it's 3. I have to check myself here. Yeah, only 3 of them failed to reach 4,000 yards. And the ones that reached 4,000 yards were Carson Wentz, who had a ridiculous amount of touchdowns. Not Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, who also had a good amount of touchdowns. And then Cam Newton, who everyone knows that most of his fantasy value comes from rushing touchdowns. So basically, if you didn't have 4,000 yards last year or you weren't a great rusher, you weren't in the top 12. I don't really know about Patrick Mahomes' rushing ability, but I'm a little skeptical that he can throw for 4,000 yards as essentially a rookie. I'm treating him as a rookie because, as Sam said, he had 1 game he started last season, and this is more or less his rookie season, so he's going to have up and downs. sure, he has a great offense, but I have a feeling that they're not going to pass as much as people think they are, and they're going to use the run game much more, and they also will rely on their somewhat good defense. So I agree that Mahomes is a little too high.
If I remember correctly, in college, Mahomes is he's a pretty good runner, but he doesn't have nearly the body that Cam Newton does. Like, Cam Newton can run because he's fucking huge. Like, he's a giant. Mahomes is a little skinnier. I don't think he's going to be able to run as much as Cam Newton. Derek, anybody top 12 here? Lay it on us. What do you think?
So we're on video right now. When you're going down the list, Bobby and I's reactions were the exact same. So I knew his mind where I was. Mahomes. Like, I can't believe for a guy that's only started one game and didn't even throw a touchdown in the game. Okay, so everybody wants to talk about like Watson and his stretch of games. That dude just lit the league on fire. Okay. But we're going to put a guy that started one game and has never thrown a touchdown in the NFL in the top 10 for dynasty quarterbacks? That's insane to me.
Do you think it's a combination of like, do you think it's more that this is like, hey, this is like the team is trusting him, he's a good quarterback? Or is this like, oh, KC has some great weapons, including, sorry to tell this, Bobby, Sammy Watkins? Like, what do you guys think? Is it just like, maybe it's a combination of the two?
I think people are projecting, which is part of dynasty, but at the same time, so don't get me wrong, I understand the argument for Mahomes as a good young quarterback who might be eventually a top 10 option in dynasty, and so you might want to get in on the ground floor. My argument is I look at everything from a value perspective, and so if Mahomes has the quote-unquote rookie season I think he's going to have, there's almost no way he's going to be valued as a top 8 quarterback next year because people will jump ship too early, which they always do.
Yep.
We saw this happen with, for example, last year before the season, Marcus Mariota and Winston were, I think, like 5 and 6, and now they're past the top 12. So anytime a young quarterback comes and excites us, we put them up too early, and then the next year, if they have even somewhat of a down season, they fall down. So right now is not the time to acquire Mahomes because his hype is too high. The time to acquire Mahomes is after this season when he might disappoint a bit and then he'll actually be of value. But you do risk Mahomes coming out and having an Andrew Luck type rookie season, in which case I think you'll live without him, but it is something that you would risk. I just don't think it's a huge risk to take.
So those rankings, I would flip Stafford and Mahomes there. If you're going to actually, I would push Mahomes down further than that. But
yeah, I'm with you.
I don't get it, man. But I look at, and I feel like the dynasty community as a whole is slowly kind of coming around to this, that you don't have any, as I'll do air quotes here, youthers and people that are like, he's 22, so he's got 15 years of productivity, and he's going to be amazing for the next 15 years. Like with Mike Evans being the number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty last year in a lot of different places. And it's like, dude, just because he's 22, he's 23, you can't say that crap. He could blow out a knee next year and never be the same damn player. So you've got to go, like, I'm more inclined to, my 2 favorite dynasty quarterbacks are Cousins and Stafford because they're 30, they're young in quarterback years, and there's projectability there, and they're a value. For Mahomes, and you're talking about the volume aspect, Bobby, and to go back with this with Andy Reid, the first few years that Andy Reid last had that rookie quarterback with Donovan McNabb, his rank in passing attempts in the league, which everybody knows Reid likes to throw the ball, or at least that's the narrative. McNabb's first 5 years in the league, they ranked 30th, 7th, 18th, 18th, and 25th in passing attempts. So I can absolutely believe that. So if I have Mahomes, which I actually do have him on a few different teams, I'm trying to sell him because it's not only the volume, it's the value that he presents right now as a top 10 dynasty quarterback, but he plays in that division. Who else is in that division? What kind of defenses is he going to see this year? He's going to see the Chargers, which are nasty as hell. The Broncos,
nasty on paper.
The Broncos just added more talent to the defensive side of the ball. Who else? Why am I blanking on the last team that's there?
Raiders.
Okay, the Raiders are garbage, but
the Raiders. You blinked on
the Raiders are Raiders. You could pass on the Raiders, but I worry. This is a time that, like Bobby was saying, you take Mahomes, you sell him, and you buy him next year.
Yeah, I mean, look, people they want to go with the hot thing, right? You see this a lot in fantasy baseball as opposed to like football. In football, or like you said, to your credit, Derek, we're starting to see a lot more people kind of come further towards like, oh, it's not just the hot topic, but you guys hit the nail on the head. It's all about people draft these guys based on, oh, he's got 10 years, he's 22, there's a chance he sucks. I mean, like it's not just about injury. There's a chance he sucks too. Quarterback's a tough position. Like I don't care if you're an NFL quarterback. Like there's clearly 32 starters. They don't all start like for 32 like for 15 years in a row. So there's no saying what you say. I'll take Stafford, who's been doing it for years. I'll take, I still like Andrew Luck, even though he's been injured and he's finally starting to play football again. I'll take Cousins. I'll take Newton. I'll take Wentz. I'll take Russell Wilson. Like these are the type of guys where you're like, okay, like it doesn't make sense for me to take a flyer on Mahomes when I know I can have Matthew Stafford and take his 310 points or whatever it is that he scores year in and year out.
Age is a factor, but I think people forget that it's not the only factor. And also, I hate to say this, but I feel like when I was newer to Dynasty, I placed much more value on youth and thinking this guy will be on my roster for 10 years. I was having a conversation with my friend Zach about this recently, where I said, if you think that way, it's just, I think, generally wrong, at least from my experience having played Dynasty for a few years. And the reason why it's wrong is there's a few things that could happen. One, we don't know, as Derek said, what will happen from season to season. So trying to project a few seasons out is an exercise in futility. Two, your league could fold. I've been in leagues that have folded. So thinking that you'll be in that league for 10 years, that may not happen. And finally, if you're in a dynasty league, chances are that you're a fantasy football addict like we all are, and you like trading. So the idea that someone will even be on your roster for 10 seasons and not get traded at some point is a little silly to me. And I think the longer you play dynasty and the shift you're talking about is just, it's become a more popular format over time, and more people have been playing it for a while. So they've realized, oh man, I've been giving up on all of these actual points that are in front of me where I could be winning to build. And the harshest lesson that I had in that was I kept chasing guys like Dorial Green-Beckham because I was like, oh man, Dorial Green-Beckham, he can be my wide receiver 1 for the next 10 years. He'll be the next Odell Beckham. They even basically have the same name. So clearly they're the same guy. And
Justin Hunter says hi.
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock anyone because I do think youth is important. And if you have your quarterback position set for years, it allows you to focus on other positions. But you want to have a balance. You don't want to just go all youth heavy or all old guy heavy. You want to have your old guys balance out your youth while they get some experience in the league. And people seem to ignore that. They go, oh man, if I'm competing, I have to get all old players. Or if I'm rebuilding, I have to get all young players. And it's just not true. There's value in having both on your roster. That might have been my early afterburn of the week. I have another one anyway, but that's my fantasy football related burn of the week.
So, and before we move on real fast, I just have to throw this in there that I kind of feel like if you're constantly going with the youth aspect, and this might be just kind of mean for me to say this, you're probably constantly going to be rebuilding, and you're probably going to constantly be having a rebuilding team every single year. Just the idea of that projectability, if as fantasy players, we run these teams like NFL GMs, or at least that's what we pretend to do, okay? In that idea, how much projectability and how many times, not only in fantasy, but in real life, do teams get it wrong? Yep. So people that have just as much, if not a million times more skill than I ever will with projecting players, and they get it wrong so damn much. Oh, but I'm so much better at it.
Right.
Come on, man. Anyway.
If you go youth heavy, you definitely, and there's a great article on this on Shake Up Rick wrote a great article. I believe it was on RotoViz.
I think it's RotoViz, yeah.
Rookie hit rates. And so if you go youth heavy, you really are relying on the fact that you're going to hit on all those guys. And if you don't, as Derek said, you're continually going to be setting yourself back into where you have to try to hit again on guys. And it's just generally a losing proposition, which is why I believe in having a balanced roster so that as your old guys start to age out or decline in skills, you have younger guys who've gotten some experience over the past few years to come in and replace them.
Well, it's almost kind of like if you're playing constantly to have nothing but youth and have to play for the upside and what could happen, you're basically playing fantasy football and dynasty just to have those aha, I told you so moments. Right. And not to win. It's not to win. It's just to be like, that one player out of the 50 I've had on my team for the last year, I got him right. So, even though I went 1-13 and I've never made the damn playoffs and I suck and I just basically give everybody my damn money every year.
So one guy that's definitely hit every year basically in his career, and he's number 3 on this list, is Russell Wilson. Now, one of the things that we have to bring up about Russell Wilson, we have to say
is that is the GOAT.
Big spoiler alert is that Bobby and I are both very, very high on Russell Wilson. He's my number 1. Bobby, I believe he's your number 1.
I'm the one who convinced you that he should be your number 1.
I try to take credit there, obviously. But we had this conversation come up in Twitter earlier today where Nate Hamilton, who's at DominateFF.
By the other day, Sam means earlier tonight.
For the listeners, it's the other day. For us, it's earlier tonight. How people, so we asking about what people want, asking people any questions they have. And Nate says, well, here's a question, how people should expect significant regression from Russell Wilson in 2018. Bob, I'm going to let you take it because you basically did all the research, did everything. I'm just going to say yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But convince us why not, and then we're going to take Derek. We're going to go with Derek's take after that.
Yeah, so check out that thread. Had really good back and forth, I thought, with Nate and Derek on that subject, and pretty much gave away all my talking points in a Twitter thread. So if you can't understand what I'm saying here and want to digest it a little bit better, check out the Twitter thread, and maybe we'll post that from the Afterburners account. But I don't necessarily disagree with Nate that Russell Wilson's going to have some regression. The thing I disagree with is significant regression because, to Nate's point, Schottenheimer is not a good offensive coordinator as far as I'm aware. The Seahawks do not have a great O-line again. They just invested a high-round pick in Rashad Penny, so it suggests they want to get back to the run. Their defense is shot, and there are a bunch of reasons to not believe in Russell Wilson. I went into a few other reasons with Nate about why I still believe in Russ, but ultimately it boils down to this. Russell Wilson, throughout his career more or less, has had Doug Baldwin to throw to, a terrible O-line, and not much else, and some terrible play calling, a.k.a. not running Marshawn Lynch at the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl. It's a prime example of that. But somehow, every single year, Russell Wilson has found a way to be fantasy relevant. And in the past 3 seasons, he's been the quarterback 1, the quarterback 12, and the quarterback 3. And that's when his best option, and you can argue Jimmy Graham, and Jimmy Graham was good in the red zone, but that's when his best option outside, and his most targeted option outside of Doug Baldwin was Jermaine Kearse, who I don't think anybody is going to say is a particularly good receiver. The red zone stuff does concern me a little bit, but at the same time, Nick Vannett, who I know, my friend Pete Law, at Pete Law, who's trying to be, or it's _ Pete Law.
Yeah.
Is trying to be the co-host of this podcast, but he's very tuned into Seahawks.
He can try all he wants.
He thinks Nick Vannett, and he's heard from, I think, some people with the Seahawks that Nick Vannett is looking very good in his workouts.
Inside information.
And yeah, so sorry, Pete, if I just outed you on that, but Nick Vannett is a sleeper. And I also think Amara Darboh, who came out last season, is someone who has a prototypical size to be a good red zone threat. Finally, the defense is so bad now that I just can't see a scenario where they don't ask Russell Wilson to throw a lot. And the increase in volume matters. I also think that he's going to have rushing touchdowns as he always does. I don't know. It could just be my bias here, but I have a hard time seeing Russell Wilson finish any lower than a QB1, and I'm glad to pay whatever price he costs in Superflex or 2 quarterback leagues because I think he's going to continue to put up QB1 and generally high-end QB1 numbers for at least the next few seasons.
QB1 or your money back from Bobby Koch?
Okay.
Yeah, no one asked me for money. I don't have any for
Nope, it's a statement.
I don't have any money either. I got 3 kids. No money. Don't ask me for money. It all comes down to how you define significant. And so Where would you put him at, Bobby? I mean, is he top 5 for you still?
So probably, yeah. I would say I'd be surprised if he doesn't finish in the top 5.
I mean, because for me, he's more in that 7, 8-ish range, only because it's a lot, man. You talked about Russell Wilson has done it in spite of circumstances around him, but I almost kind of feel like the Seahawks just keep stacking the damn deck against him. It's just like, all right, well, you did it in spite of this. Well, here's some other shit to deal with. Here you go.
You think they're playing a game like, let's see how bad we can make things for Russ before he stops playing well?
I mean, tell me this. Okay, for a team that, and I had a second here, for a team that their offensive line and I don't always go with grades, but it's one of the best ways that you can, all we can do is look at ranks and stuff like that for offensive line play, because I'm not an offensive line guru guy. I don't know shit. I just can look at numbers. On Pro Football Focus, none of these offensive linemen on their depth chart ranked any better than 17th. So their best offensive lineman was their center, who was 11th in pass blocking. The rest of them, and I'll just run down the line, 26th, 74th, 76th, and 40th in pass blocking. And it's not any better with run blocking. They were 22nd, 60th, 16th, 17th, and 79. So the run blocking's a little bit better, okay? And again, same website, they were 30th in pass blocking efficiency. There were only 2 teams worse than them, and for a team that had that bad of a line going into the offseason, they didn't address the line until the 5th round? That's crazy. I don't understand it. So, okay, you have just a shit-tastic offensive line, and you don't address it at all in the draft, basically, but you take a running back in the first round
who's a terrible pass blocker.
He can't pass block for crap. He was terrible at it. He's terrible. Even if you're not a film grinder. Pro Football Focus, out of the 64 running backs they ranked in pass blocking efficiency, do you know where Rashad Penny landed, Bobby?
Somewhere dead last.
62nd. 62nd out of 64. So if Russell Wilson's in the backfield with Rashad Penny and the rusher comes around the edge and he's like, I'm going to take his head off, Rashad Penny's going to do what? Ole. It's terrible, man. So he doesn't have an offensive line. They let go of Graham, which I know you're a Jimmy Graham guy, okay? And I love Nick Vannett, okay? He's one of my sleepers coming into the season. But to say that the transition from Vannett to Jimmy Graham is going to be seamless, I don't think it's going to be seamless. I think it's...
And that's also given that the Seahawks were using Graham wrong and asking him to be a pass blocker rather than...
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, when you draft and you have players on the team that nobody can basically pass block, Jimmy Graham just kind of fits right in. Why didn't they just keep him? I mean, seriously. So you lose Graham, you lose Richardson, so you're going to replace it with Vannett, Tyler Lockett if he's healthier and more explosive, which I do like Lockett this year. I mean, at his upside, he maybe can have 2 years ago John Brown type of season or something explosive of that nature. And that the ghost of Brandon Marshall, the thing with it for me is I can't rank Russell Wilson that high because I honestly, yes, he was QB1 last year, but the deck is stacked so much against him. And we talked about volume and stuff. Man, that offensive coordinator for talking about volume has come out and said, the way we're going to do it is run when they think we're going to run. Okay, well, when are you going to pass?
Didn't realize it was Jeff Fisher Jr.
But also, wouldn't you expect an offensive coordinator to not tell the full truth about what their game plan is? I mean, maybe they're just – I'm not going to assume that they're not as smart as I am. And if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm not going to go, hey, Derek, I'm playing you this week. But here's everything I'm going to run this week.
I don't know. It seems to me like every year, Russell Wilson gets shitted on before the season, and every year he comes out and crushes it. Yeah, I think that's
so. Derek, I already have a ton of bets, avatar bets, as you probably know. I will bet you that in a minimum of 10 games played, which is my favorite number to use.
I hope you're going to name the player that I hope you're going to do. Come on. Do it, Bobby.
Wilson will finish as a quarterback 6 in points per game or better. And this season, and the loser, just to shout out back to our first open bar appearance together, has to have a My Little Pony avatar for a month.
I'm going to up this because, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, okay? I'll say this. Kirk Cousins will finish above Russell Wilson this season. How about that? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. If Kirk Cousins finishes above Russell Wilson.
Just to clarify, are we talking points per game or are we just talking fantasy?
No, points per game. I'm all about points per game because that's the true definition of ranking and not season long ranks.
Points per game, Kirk Cousins versus Russell Wilson.
Kirk Cousins over Russell Wilson. Yep. And whoever loses has to rock a pony avatar.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Derek Brown,
I'm done with it.
Cousins. Bobby Koch has Russell Wilson for the My Little Pony avatar. It's going to be interesting. It's gonna be fun to watch out,
I also, by the way, have a My Little Pony avatar bet about Evan Ingram. So I feel like somehow I'm probably going to end up with a My Little Pony avatar at some point.
Shout out to Tim Turner on Twitter. He said,
yeah, he was on the podcast last week.
Yeah, he was. I figured you'd spoken before. He said, you got to give Bobby shit for me for being on the podcast. And I said, anytime anyone gives Bobby shit, a brony earns his tail.
A brony? Oh, pony.
Brony. It's what they call My Little Pony lovers.
Yes, men that are My Little Pony lovers. Sam is apparently not up to his the My Little Pony love. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't hang out with 6-year-old girls. I apologize. Apparently, Bobby makes a habit of it.
Bobby loves ponies. That's been the inside joke since the open bar.
Man,
how did that even get brought up? What were you talking about? J Mike's house.
Just to clarify, J Mike had a My Little Pony decoration in the background of his webcam, and I asked him about it. And somehow that got turned into me being a brony.
All right.
It's never going to die.
I like these brony comments. We are running out of time, though, guys. This is a really good show. Thanks so much for joining us, Derek. But as I'm sure you're aware, you do have to join us for this last segment where we do our afterburns of the week. So hopefully you have one. If you don't, we'll give you some time to think of one. Bobby, you want to lead us off, or should I?
It's up to you. You didn't get a chance to do one last week, so maybe you should start.
All right, so for those of you listening at the beginning, here's the time to listen in. I'm going to burn my asshole for basically being so destroyed last week. So I came back from the Capitals game, went to the Capitals parade, came back. I was so drunk that Tuesday, had no idea that I was in pain, came back on the train. Something wasn't right when I was sitting down. I figured because I hadn't had any sleep in 4 or 5 days, nonstop bender like I was Alexander Ovechkin or TJ Oshie. But I couldn't do the show last week, and I believe my exact text message to Bobby was, I can't stop bleeding out of my asshole.
I can't do the pod tonight. I can't stop bleeding out of my asshole.
Yeah, so for those of you that are wondering, I had a ruptured hemorrhoid, and that's why I couldn't make it the long trek over here from Brooklyn to Manhattan. That's where I was, and hence the clap comment by Derek at the beginning of the episode. Thank you for that. So, Dan Mietemeyer's asshole, you are the afterburn of the week. And coincidentally enough, I did afterburn the shit out of my toilet.
I was fixing to say, doesn't that feel like a Taco Bell slogan? I'm going to burn my asshole?
Either way, I liked your idea before the show that we're going to make a shirt out of it with the Stanley Cup on front, and on the back it's going to be that exact same text message quote.
It has to be in a tank top.
Of course, or maybe it's like a regular T-shirt but it's sleeveless.
Yeah. What was it? Stick arms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be just as likely to wear that as I will to wear shorts. So, fair enough.
I don't know if I can really follow that up, but last week I promised people I would give one of what has now become known as my food takes. And I have another one that seemed to stir up a lot of conversation on Twitter. This one especially got Sam Lane infuriated. I believe his Twitter handle is FFStompy83, maybe. We'll have to look that up. But I have the take that baked goods and nuts do not belong together whatsoever, because you're having something very sweet, and sometimes sweet and salty works, but
like
it's
nuts
also
in a cookie.
Yeah, no nuts in a cookie. Like, you don't want something salty and crunchy in your sweet baked good. It's just not tasty. My wife is over here shaking her head. She can't believe it, but I just don't like it. I've never liked nuts in baked goods whatsoever. My mom owned a bakery, so I know what's good baked goods. And I'm just telling you, if you like nuts and baked goods, you probably like to eat soup in hot weather too, and that makes you a little bit of a psychopath. I'm sorry, but it's true. And you can at me at Rec Fantasy about how wrong I am and how this whatever pecan pie or whatever you want to say is the greatest in baked good history, but you're wrong, and you'll just have to come to live with it. And that's my burn of the week.
Man, did you say pecan?
Nuts pecan.
Is that? Oh my gosh! I'm a Southern guy, so that just hurt me.
I hear you, man. I went to school in the South, and it was always pecan.
Well, you know what?
It's pecan. I just pronounced it wrong. That's just on the Afterburners pod. We pronounce things wrong. That's our brand. So it's not like people in the Northeast say pecan. I'm just an idiot.
People can at me as well for your your nut take. As I'll put it.
I don't like to eat nuts. I don't know. Maybe other people like to eat nuts.
Bobby,
why ruin a perfectly amazing cookie with white chocolate in it with some damn macadamia nuts? Like, that's a travesty.
I'm with you, Derek. Give me that shit. I'll eat the shit out of it.
It's horrible. I'll pick that out and just pluck them at you. Like, ugh.
Seriously?
It's terrible.
Yeah, you misheard him. What Sam's saying is he likes to eat some salty nuts. So,
surprisingly, when my asshole hurt so much last week that I like nuts too, who would have thought?
Salty nuts and burning assholes. This is. Oh my god! And this might just be because I'm absolutely burning over the fact that, dude, I am so absolutely sick of calling institutions, whether it's a bank, a cell phone company, or whatever. Can we please absolutely just burn the entire institution down of automated menus? Oh my God, I hate that shit. I hate being on the phone for 30 minutes going, please press 2. If you would like Spanish, el español, please press 4. And then you lose reception and it goes all the way to like 55, and then it's like, please repress these options and hear this again, please press 3. And you're like, shit! Like, and for anybody that doesn't know the cheat code, most of them you just get there and you just keep pressing 0, but then some of them
representative. That's another cheat code.
Some of them have caught on to that. So you keep pressing 0 and it says, can you please repeat that? Can you please repeat that? I'm on the phone for 30 damn minutes waiting to talk to a human being, not a freaking Terminator voice. I hate that shit. It drives me nuts. Oh, yeah. Macadamia nuts. It drives me macadamia nuts.
But not baked good nuts.
Yeah, but not enough to eat baked good nuts.
No, not that much nuts. No nuts and no burning assholes. Never on my automated menus.
All right, I think we'd agree with that take, that is definitely terrible, the automated menus. Guys, this is a lot of fun. We are out of time, so we're going to have to call it a day. Lead us back home, Derek. Tell us where people can find you before we sign out, and then we got to call it a night.
All right. Like I was saying, I am on Twitter way too damn much. Debro_FFB. You can check out my work. If you listen to the Afterburners podcast and you like how absolutely insane I am, you can check us out at FFB_247. We got Dynasty and Redraft. And right for there, NumberFire and at Roto Underworld. So, like I said, I'm on Twitter. Hit me up with your questions, or just if you want to talk shit about Bobby and his bad food takes, I'm down.
So you can find me at Rec Fantasy, and I don't know if anybody can say that they're on Twitter too much unless they reach the 30,000 tweet mark? Is that what I was at? 36,000 tweet mark.
I'm right behind you. I'm at 29, so I'm
You'll get there. Just 1,000 more, and you can say that you tweet too much.
Okay, so give me a week. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. But you can find my work at DLF Football. You can find my other work at Two Quarterbacks. I've been mulling over since this conversation that we had earlier tonight, an article about Russell Wilson and why he is the greatest of all time. And you can also find me on Afterburners Pod every week.
Guys, you can follow me in my 8,200 tweets at the Needy One. This is the Afterburners Pod. You can find us at Afterburners Pod. Don't forget to download, subscribe, and like us on iTunes. That way, every time there's a new episode, it'll get directly to your earphones.
And rate and review. We haven't been saying that lately, but rate and review.
I didn't want them to do too much. I just wanted them to say, like, hey, download.
I mean, we'll take subscribers because we probably have like 5, but if you feel like reviewing us, do it. And you don't have to give us 5 stars. I always hear, I'm going to like copy
give us 1.
The Dynasty Dummies here, but we always want to hear your feedback so we can get better and give you more of the information you want to hear. Or maybe you don't want the football stuff anymore and you literally just want us to go on tangents
about hemorrhoids
and talk about hemorrhoids and thoughts. We'll do it.
I mean, that might hurt your ratings. They need to rate the football stuff and not so much the food takes, because then it's going to be they're going to say, well, shit, I can't. Can you go negative stars?
And don't forget to follow some Podbean, Stitcher, and Stitcher as well. Thanks so much for listening, Derek. Thanks so much for being on. We loved it. We had a great time. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Keep it classy, Twitter. Until next time.
I went down, 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 and the flames went higher, and it burns.